Ever heard of a mission so secret the Navy didn't even know its ship was missing? The story of a top-secret mission that ended in one of the most terrifying survival tales of World War II. Imagine 900 men stranded at sea, facing blistering sun, freezing nights, and circling sharks. What happened to them? Stay tuned as we uncover the chilling mystery of the USS Indianapolis and the nightmare that still haunts history today. Let's dive into it. The story of the USS Indianapolis is one of the most harrowing and chilling tales to come out of World War II. It's a story of survival, tragedy, and mystery, one that still haunts the memories of those who know it. On July 30th, 1945, the USS Indianapolis, a heavy cruiser in the U.S. Navy, was returning from a top-secret mission. Its mission had been crucial. It had delivered parts of the atomic bomb that would soon be dropped on Hiroshima, helping to bring the war to an end. The crew of nearly 1,200 men was unaware of the importance of their mission, but they were relieved it was over. Now they were heading back to U.S. shores, but just after midnight, disaster struck. A Japanese submarine, I-58, spotted the Indianapolis as it sailed through the Philippine Sea. The submarine launched 2 torpedoes, both of which hit the ship with devastating force. Within 12 minutes, the Indianapolis sank beneath the waves. Of the nearly 1,200 men on board, around 900 survived the initial sinking, but their nightmare had only just begun. The ship went down so fast that it didn't have time to send a distress signal. And because their mission was top secret, the Navy didn't immediately know the ship was missing. These 900 men were left stranded in the middle of the ocean, with nothing but life vests, a few rafts, and the open sea around them. For the next 4 days, these sailors fought for their lives. They battled the scorching sun during the day and freezing temperatures at night. They were without food or water, but worst of all, they were surrounded by sharks. The Philippine Sea is home to some of the most dangerous shark species, including the oceanic whitetip. Soon after the Indianapolis sank, the sharks began circling. At first, they scavenged on the bodies of the dead, but it didn't take long before they started attacking the living. The men were helpless as sharks picked them off, one by one. Every splash in the water, every movement, could attract the sharks. For the men floating in the open sea, the hours turned into days of terror. They couldn't sleep. They couldn't rest. Every moment was a fight for survival. The shark attacks were relentless, and the psychological toll was just as brutal as the physical. As the days dragged on, dehydration and exhaustion began to set in. Some men, delirious from lack of water, drank the salty ocean water, which only made them more dehydrated. Others began to hallucinate, seeing ships and land that weren't there. Some, driven mad by the heat and the horror, simply swam away from the group, never to be seen again. By the 4th day, less than 300 men were still alive. Finally, a passing U.S. Navy plane spotted them by chance. A rescue mission was launched immediately, and the survivors were pulled from the water. Of the 900 men who had survived the sinking, only 316 were rescued. The rest had either drowned, succumbed to dehydration, or been killed by sharks. The horror of the USS Indianapolis didn't end with the rescue. For years, the survivors were haunted by what they had endured. The loss of their comrades, the constant threat of sharks, and the trauma of being stranded in the ocean with no hope of rescue stayed with them for the rest of their lives. Many of them suffered from survivor's guilt, wondering why they had been saved when so many others hadn't. For decades, the sinking of the USS Indianapolis was shrouded in controversy. Captain Charles McVeigh, who had survived the ordeal, was court-martialed for failing to zigzag, a maneuver that could have helped the ship avoid the torpedoes. Many of the survivors believed he was unfairly blamed, and years later, new evidence suggested that McVeigh was not at fault. In 2000, the U.S. Congress passed a resolution exonerating him. The story of the USS Indianapolis is a reminder of the horrors of war, not just on the battlefield, but in the untamed seas, where men fought not only an enemy they couldn't see, but the unforgiving forces of nature. The terror they faced in the water, surrounded by sharks, waiting for a rescue that might never come, remains one of the darkest and most chilling episodes in naval history. To this day, the story of the USS Indianapolis continues to haunt as a symbol of both the horrors of war and the incredible will to survive.